Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we are diving deep into one of the most shocking and significant events in recent months. A massive rocket attack launched by Hamas that has shaken Tel Aviv and raised serious questions about the strength and reliability of Israel's defense systems. This incident is not just another flare-up in a long conflict. It represents a critical moment that could shift the balance of security, politics, and regional stability in the Middle East. The scale of this attack was unlike most previous escalations. Hundreds of rockets were launched within hours, overwhelming the skies above Tel Aviv and surrounding areas. For the residents of the city, sirens blared almost continuously as people rushed to shelters, scrambling for safety in what felt like an endless bombardment. The scenes that emerged painted a chilling picture of fear, chaos, and uncertainty. Families were huddled underground, children were crying, and the streets of one of Israel's busiest cities turned into an eerie reflection of war. Israel has long prided itself on having one of the most advanced missile defense systems in the world, the Iron Dome. It is designed to intercept incoming rockets and missiles with remarkable accuracy. But this attack raised questions that many Israelis never thought they would be asking. Can the Iron Dome be overwhelmed? Can Israel's defense handle the sheer volume of rockets that Hamas and potentially other groups are capable of launching? For the first time in years, doubt crept into the conversation, even among citizens who had always believed in the invincibility of their defense shield. The attack also highlighted the changing capabilities of Hamas. Traditionally seen as a militant group with limited resources, Hamas has clearly expanded its military arsenal and tactical planning. This was not a small, symbolic show of resistance. This was a coordinated, large-scale assault intended to test Israel's defenses, send a message to its government, and perhaps provoke a wider conflict. Military analysts who studied the timing and intensity of the strikes noted that this was a demonstration of strength that surprised even the most experienced observers. Tel Aviv, usually seen as a symbol of modern Israel, is rarely the main target of such heavy rocket fire. Attacks on border towns or southern areas of Israel have been common, but a direct and sustained bombardment of Tel Aviv shifts the narrative. It strikes at the heart of the nation, where business, culture, and politics converge. The psychological impact of this cannot be underestimated. It's not just about physical destruction. It's about the feeling of vulnerability that grips a population when its central hub is under attack. The political consequences of this event were immediate. Israel's leadership faced immense pressure from citizens demanding stronger responses, and from allies questioning the stability of the region. The government's decisions in the days following the attack were crucial, balancing the need for retaliation with the danger of sparking a larger war. International reactions were also swift. The United States and European countries condemned the rocket fire but also called for restraint, recognizing that escalation could drag the entire region into chaos. Meanwhile, for Hamas, the attack was portrayed as a victory. In their messaging, this was a proof of their ability to strike deep into Israel and shake the confidence of its people. In the Palestinian territories, supporters celebrated the operation, framing it as resistance against occupation and oppression. For those living in Gaza, where daily life is marked by poverty, blockades, and limited opportunities, the attack provided a sense of empowerment, even as they braced for inevitable retaliation from Israel's military. But the human cost of this cycle cannot be ignored. In both Tel Aviv and Gaza, ordinary people suffered the most. Homes were destroyed, lives were lost, and families were shattered. Each new escalation adds another layer of trauma to communities that have already endured decades of violence. The rockets and airstrikes do not distinguish between soldiers and civilians, and the images of destruction on both sides remind us of the terrible human toll of this conflict. The question of Israel's defense now dominates discussions in security circles. The Iron Dome has been considered a model of modern military technology, often cited as a game-changing system that keeps Israel safe, but no defense is perfect, and no system can guarantee total protection against determined adversaries. Military experts are now debating whether Israel needs to expand its missile defense capabilities, invest in new technologies, or reconsider its broader strategy for dealing with groups like Hamas. One key aspect is the element of surprise. Hamas has shown that it can launch rockets in numbers high enough to stretch the Iron Dome to its limits. By coordinating launches and saturating the skies, they force the system to make impossible choices, leaving some rockets to slip through. This tactic is not new in warfare, but it reveals a significant vulnerability. The effectiveness of Israel's defense depends not only on technology, but also on how quickly it can adapt to evolving threats. The international dimension of this attack cannot be overlooked. Iran's role in supporting Hamas with funding, weapons, and training is an open secret. Many analysts see this attack as part of a broader regional struggle, where Iran uses Hamas and other groups as proxies to challenge Israel. This adds another layer of complexity to the conflict, turning a local confrontation into part of a much larger geopolitical contest. For Israel, this means that its defense strategy must account not just for Hamas, but for the possibility of facing coordinated threats from multiple directions. For the people of Tel Aviv, the attack left deep scars. Even if the physical damage is repaired, the psychological impact lingers. The sound of sirens, the rush to shelters, the uncertainty of whether the Iron Dome will intercept the next rocket. All of this changes daily life. Parents now worry about sending their children to school. Businesses face disruptions, and the sense of normalcy that Tel Aviv is known for has been shaken. Security is not just about weapons and technology. It's about the confidence of people in their ability to live without fear. In Gaza, the cycle continues as well. Every time Hamas launches rockets, the people of Gaza brace themselves for retaliation. Israel's airstrikes inevitably cause destruction, often hitting civilian areas despite efforts to target military sites. The humanitarian situation, already dire due to blockades and shortages, worsens with each round of conflict. Ordinary Gazans, many of whom have no say in Hamas's decisions, pay the highest price. They face destroyed homes, limited access to medical care, and a future clouded by uncertainty. The broader question that emerges from this attack is whether peace is even possible in such a cycle of violence. Both sides carry decades of grievances, and each new escalation deepens mistrust. For Israel, the priority is security. For Palestinians, the priority is freedom and dignity. These conflicting goals make compromise difficult, and the voices of ordinary people often get drowned out by the rhetoric of politicians and militants. As observers, we must ask ourselves what the future holds if these attacks continue. Will Israel be forced to rethink its strategy, relying less on defense and more on offensive operations to deter future assaults? Will Hamas continue to gain strength and support, presenting itself as the defender of Palestinian resistance? And what role will international actors play in either fueling or calming the conflict? These questions remain open, and the answers are far from simple. The timing of this attack also carries significance. It came at a moment when Israel was facing internal political tensions and social unrest. Protests, debates, and divisions within the country have been making headlines, and some analysts believe that Hamas deliberately chose this moment to strike, hoping to exploit Israel's domestic distractions. Whether or not this was the case, the attack certainly added pressure to an already tense political environment. For the global audience, the images of rockets over Tel Aviv and explosions in Gaza once again served as a stark reminder of how fragile peace in the Middle East truly is. Social media amplified these images, spreading them worldwide within seconds. People from across the globe watched as civilians ran for cover, as explosions lit up the night sky, and as leaders exchanged sharp words. In today's interconnected world, such events are no longer confined to the region. They become part of a global conversation about justice, security, and human rights. At the same time, misinformation spreads quickly during such crises. Rumors, exaggerated claims, and unverified videos can shape perceptions in ways that are not always accurate. This complicates the understanding of the conflict for those who are far away but deeply concerned. It underscores the importance of relying on verified information, credible sources, and careful analysis rather than being swept up by sensational headlines. Ultimately, the massive rocket attack on Tel Aviv forces us to confront uncomfortable truths. No matter how advanced a defense system may be, no country can guarantee total safety when faced with determined adversaries. No matter how justified a cause may seem to one side, the cost in human lives is devastating for both. And no matter how much the international community calls for peace, without genuine efforts from leaders on both sides, the cycle of violence will continue. For Israel, the path forward requires not only military strength, but also political vision. Retaliation may provide temporary security, but long-term stability demands a solution that addresses the root causes of conflict. For Palestinians, the path forward requires unity, strategy, and a vision that goes beyond short-term victories and focuses on achieving lasting dignity and independence. Without such efforts, attacks and counterattacks will remain the norm. As we reflect on this incident, one thing is clear: the Middle East remains at a crossroads. The choices made in the coming months by Israel, Hamas, regional powers, and international actors will shape the future of millions of people. The question is whether those choices will lead toward escalation or toward peace. For now, the skies over Tel Aviv and Gaza remind us that the struggle is far from over, and the search for security and justice continues.